He forgave his enemies. He forgave those who imprisoned him for 27 long years. But there was one person Nelson Mandela could never forgive: his own wife, Winnie Mandela. Behind the world's most celebrated love story was a hidden pain, a story of betrayal, loneliness, and shattered dreams. In this video, we uncover the untold truth of Nelson Mandela's marriage, why the man who united a nation could not heal his own home. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the story. At the divorce hearing, Nelson Mandela stood a few feet away from his wife Winnie and spoke to the judge. He said, "My lord, let me put it simply. Even if the whole universe tried to persuade me to reconcile with the defendant, I would not. I am determined to end this marriage." Mandela did not hide the sadness and disappointment he felt in his marriage after returning from prison. He told the court that Winnie did not share his bed once in the 2 years after he came home. "I was the loneliest man," he said. These were the words of Nelson Mandela, the great anti-apartheid hero. Years earlier, he had walked out of Victor Verster prison hand in hand with Winnie, waving to cheering crowds. But behind that public image was a painful private story. So why did Nelson Mandela never forgive his ex-wife, Winnie Mandela? That is the question this video will answer. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Nelson Mandela was laid to rest on December 15, 2013. Journalist John Carlin, in his book Knowing Mandela, explains why Mandela could not forgive Winnie, even though she was publicly honored after his death and included in the official funeral program. 2 weeks before Mandela was released from prison, John Carlin visited Winnie at her home in a wealthy area of Soweto called Deep Kloof Extension, known locally as Beverly Hills. Her house, paid for by foreign supporters, was a large 2-story home with a garden and a small swimming pool. It was luxurious by Black South African standards. Carlin met Winnie's family and staff and saw what looked like a happy home. But beneath the surface, deep pain remained. During the 1970s and 1980s, Winnie had suffered greatly under apartheid. She had been arrested, jailed, and kept in solitary confinement for more than a year. Her children had watched the police drag her away, screaming. She had also been banished from her home several times. By the time Mandela's release was near, her life had improved. Carlin noticed 2 big cards on a shelf, a Christmas card and a birthday card, both from Mandela. Each read in his handwriting, "Darling, I love you." Madiba. He called himself by his tribal name, Madiba, to those close to him. When the interview began, Winnie acted like a bride-to-be, full of nervous excitement about reuniting with her husband after 27 years. She was charming, confident, and still very attractive. It was easy to see why Mandela had fallen in love with her back in 1957. Mandela, however, had always worn a public mask. Calm, disciplined, and strong. Only twice in his life did that mask crack. Both times because of Winnie. The first time was in May 1991. Winnie had just been convicted of kidnapping and assault in the case of a 14-year-old boy named Stompie Moketsi, who was later murdered. She had believed wrongly that the boy was a police spy. As she left court, Winnie raised her fist and smiled as if celebrating. Mandela, walking beside her, looked heartbroken, his face gray, his eyes downcast. The second time was a year later, when he announced their separation at a press conference. He began by saying, "My love for her remains undiminished. But because of our differences in recent months, we have agreed that separation is best for both of us." He then ended the conference clearly in pain. Mandela's love for Winnie had been intense, almost like an obsession. In prison, he had idealized her, turning the memory of their short time together into a dream of the perfect marriage. But the truth was, they had barely lived as husband and wife even before his imprisonment. As Winnie herself admitted, "I have never lived with Mandela. I don't know what it's like to have a normal family." During Mandela's 27 years in prison, Winnie had other relationships. By the time he was released, she was in love with a young lawyer named Dali Mpofu, 30 years younger than her and part of her legal team. She continued the affair even after Mandela came home. Members of the ANC knew about it but kept quiet. Mandela's pain was private. Still, eventually the affair became public when Winnie's personal letter to Mpofu was leaked to the newspapers. The letter accused Mpofu of cheating on her and using her, showing her jealousy and anger. For Mandela, it was humiliating. His dream of a family life after prison was shattered. He later found out that when Winnie traveled to America, she secretly took Mpofu with her, even after promising Mandela she wouldn't. When Mandela called her hotel, Mpofu answered the phone. Despite all this, Mandela blamed himself more than he blamed Winnie. He felt guilty for putting politics before his family. His closest friends said his biggest wish after prison was to have a normal family life. But that never happened. His relationship with Winnie also hurt his ties with their children, especially their daughter Zinzi. She shared many of her mother's traits. Strong-willed but troubled. Her personal life was full of pain, just like Winnie's. Government officials later admitted that they told judges to be lenient with Winnie during her trial. They feared that jailing her would destroy Mandela emotionally and harm peace talks between the ANC and the apartheid government. Years later, at Zinzi's wedding, Winnie attended and sat near a white woman she had once insulted in her leaked letter. Mandela ignored Winnie completely that night, treating her as if she didn't exist. In 1994, after Mandela became president, one of his close friends told journalist John Carlin, "It's amazing. He forgave all his political enemies, but he could never forgive her." When their divorce was finalized, Mandela gave Winnie a fair share of his property, but made it clear he wanted to move on. "Even if the whole universe tried to persuade me to reconcile with her," he said, "I would not." He explained that after his release, Winnie refused to live with him as a wife. "I was the loneliest man," he told the court. Still, Mandela never let this personal pain interfere with his political duty. He separated his private suffering from his public mission. As he once said, "When you live a life like ours involved in a revolutionary struggle, you stop thinking about yourself." His friends later confirmed that Mandela felt guilty for not being there for his family when they needed him most. But even so, the emotional wounds caused by his marriage to Winnie never healed. That is why Nelson Mandela, who forgave his jailers and oppressors, could not forgive his wife. Hope you now know why this hero refused to forgive the woman who fought beside him with great courage for long. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell not to miss other videos like this.